I have a sense of failure, and that sense of failure comes from a desire to help every one of them. How do you get involved and help them all? And the answer is you can't. But the need is vast, and the suffering's deep, and I want to do something. I don't want to let it go. I feel almost guilty for what I have. Thoughts about the indiscriminate ways of the weather, the way the laws of physics don't care who you are or what you pray about or who you pray to. It doesn't matter. It's absolutely indifferent to it. It didn't matter in the moment of the storm as people washed away what they were saying or what they believed, or who they were, who they worked for, how much money they had. It didn't matter. They lost their lives and their homes and their loved ones indiscriminately. And I wonder about faith. What role does that have in this? How does faith work in circumstances like this?
Quote, reaching for me and calling me daddy.
You'll probably find this part
as the storm swept him away.
You're not going to find what this reporter said.
Our Steve Harrigan is on the ground, live on Abaco right now.
Oh yeah, this guy. He was just telling it like it was.
Steve, what are you seeing?
Yeah.
What are you hearing?
Shepard, I'm standing in what used to be somebody's house here on Abaco Island. Just the foundation is left. And really in what used to be somebody's neighborhood, because as far as I can see behind me, off to the right, off to the left, there is nothing left here. It's as if someone took a snow globe and just shook it over and over again. This is not the kind of hurricane that just tears the roof off a house. It's the kind of hurricane that hit here with 185-mile-per-hour winds for 2 days. You mentioned the body count. That is going to change dramatically because when you stand here, you can smell bodies. I can see dead dogs from where I'm standing. And when I walked with Chris Pontius over that hill to a church there, you could actually see dead bodies protruding from the rocks.
In 2018, Hurricane Michael hit the Florida Panhandle. And as I sat the morning of the storm watching news footage of it, I called my business partner, his name's Greg, and Greg basically said, when are you leaving? He had a feeling I would be going, and he had an idea of a menu that would be safe to carry in a van, that didn't require refrigeration, and all I would be required to have was a way to cook and a way to bring clean water. And so we decided on pasta and sauce and meat and meatballs as the menu for disaster areas. And not just any old pasta, but the fine grade pasta that we serve in our restaurants. There was no plan at all. The plan was to arrive, was just to show up. And through the efforts of others and circumstances I don't create and series of people and communications that I had nothing to do with, the plan manifested of itself.
Daniel Francis was once an EMT, so he knows devastation. So when he saw news coverage of Hurricane Michael, he knew only one word mattered: help.
It just came on my heart to go.
He serves as the executive director of a senior food service center called Shade Tree Kitchens in Atlanta. His business partner packed up a truck full of supplies, and Daniel left Georgia with a few hundred pounds of pasta and sauce.
Kind of like the idea of willingness is the key, that if I can use the key of willingness, and that's what I was willing. When I got back from Hurricane Michael, the realization that happened in the course of doing this work was that I brought pasta to feed them, but what happened is I got fed. They got one plate of pasta individually from me. I got thousands of stories of strength and courage and gratitude. I saw faith in a way that I didn't even know could exist. I was married to the idea from that moment forward that if this happens and I can get there, I'm going.
These are the conditions that led to the destruction. A holiday paradise obliterated, by powerful wind gusts of over 200 miles per hour and torrential rainfall.
So as Hurricane Dorian was developing in the Atlantic, I'm a weather buff and I could see the water surface temperatures, and I was listening to different forecasters, and it was obvious to me that this was not likely to be a Category 5 hurricane. It was going to be a Category 5 hurricane. Headed today to somewhere around Fort Lauderdale. We're going to rendezvous with a Bahamian named Philip, and we're going to go visit first thing in the morning with the Bahamian consulate in Miami. When we left, what we wanted to do was make access to the Bahamas and set up a mobile kitchen somewhere in the Bahamas in order to help that particular population. But the series of events that was going to unfold in front of us would reveal a really different plan, much more effective than that plan, much more practical than that plan, but not at all on our minds as we left.
It's calm outside of Daniel Francis's Metro Atlanta home.
Pasta? Yeah. Cans oil pasta beans.
Francis spent the day loading up these boxes.
We load up with all the things necessary to bring a nutrient-dense meal.
That meal is pasta, what Francis tells me can be cooked for thousands on site.
In our country, we bring so much to bear, and we could and ought to be proud of that. But there's a period of time that requires a bridging of the gap. And that's what individuals like myself and perhaps yourself provide under these circumstances. Yeah, when we first arrived into Fort Lauderdale and we made contact with the pilot, his name was Philip, he brought us around to different places that he knew activity was going on. And we connected to Tropic Ocean Airways at the Fort Lauderdale General Aviation Airport. They're a company that routinely flies vacationers and business people out to the Bahamas. Inside of their office was another group called Blue Tide Marine, and they already had security forces on the ground in Abaco. So they were getting real-time data of the circumstances there. It was determined the day we arrived that perhaps it wasn't the best thing to do to get in right away. And then logistically, the planes were occupied. Relief workers and different agencies needed access as well. And for the time being, that superseded the importance of food. There'd be other types of problems with passports and government agencies and getting permissions that were going to delay us as well. But all those things led to a far more efficient, a far more effective plan. Working with Blue Tide Marine and Tropic Ocean Airways and another group called Global Empowerment Mission, they, with us, sort of manifested a plan. I'm not sure that anyone in particular decided, but the way it came together was that we would cook at the Fort Lauderdale airport, package stuff into coolers to keep the food hot, and then load it onto planes to be delivered wherever those planes are going. So we set up in the parking lot in a really expensive spot, because it's a spot that's a covered parking for people that own private jets. And we just sort of took over their parking spots to cook pasta. We're still here at the Fort Lauderdale International Airport, and we're still working on getting, let me get my mic, I gotta be out all squared away here. And we're gonna be getting lots and lots of food out, but you can see how we do it right there. And right over here is where they go out to. You can't probably see it that good, but they go out to that hangar. And they get loaded up on planes and fly right into people that are lost. We're connected with a group that has the ability to get into spots that are extremely hard to get into. From that point, what we did was we cooked basically to order. Tropic Ocean Airways and the people of Blue Tide Marine would let us know their needs, and then from that information, we would cook food to a particular amount. It might be 400 meals, it might have been 800 meals, it might have been 300 meals, whatever it is, and we would package that up and send it with them. Inside of each of these is the spaghetti, so when it gets over to Abaco, it's ready to eat. Looks like that. And that's what we got going on right now. So the food made a difference, you made a difference. It's hot out there. We're getting the job done. So glad to be here. So there comes a moment where a whole bunch of really strong resources are in place, like Chef for Bahamas and Mercy Meals. And it comes to a point where the Blue Tide Marine and the Tropic Ocean Airways have really solidified and organized and simplified their operations. And there comes a point in time where that gap that we wanted to bridge, well, it's bridged. And somewhere, reluctantly, it says you're done. It's time to go home. It's a tough day. You don't want to leave. How could it be time to go home? There's still people suffering. There's so much work to do. Surely I can contribute something. And the answer is, of course I can. But it's time for me to return back to my life, back to the people that supported me, back to those that love me and want me back in their life. They've given me up for their time, and you have a sense that that time is up. The reality of that is that really large organizations with fantastic resources and dedicated people that are skilled and experienced in the long-term recovery of this type of devastation, they're on the ground now. They've got it. They're going to do a great job by these people. And once again, it's going to be primarily Americans, just regular old Americans, volunteering their time to get the job done.